Basically, what's going on here is you have some ghosts trying to get their lick back. That's what's happening here in this book. Hello and welcome to Tracy Mommy Reads. I am back again with another book review. Today I am going to be talking about the book. Let me see if I can. Oh, that was too large. The book Ask for Andrea by Noelle Ihli. I feel like I've read a book by this author because that name is so unique. But anyway, Ask for Andrea. This one, I saw it going around and I read this a while back, okay? Like earlier this year, a while back. And I wasn't going to read it. And let me tell you why. Because this is the first two lines of the book. Not of the book, but of the blurb. Megan, Brescia, and Sky have just one thing in common. They were all murdered by the same man. Okay, so, and now, I didn't want to read about, women being unalived or brutalized by some psychopath. But then as you continue to read, they talk about how he got, he was like hunting them online, masquerading as an eligible bachelor, taking them on dates and everything. And then it keeps going on. It says he got away with murder 3 times. Then this is the one that this is what made me go, Megan, Brescia, and Sky might be dead, but they're not gone. They found each other, and they won't rest until they find a way to stop him. And then the last one says, the hunt is on. So yeah, basically what's going on here is you have some ghosts trying to get their lick back. That's what's happening here in this book. These women have gone on, not fully to the afterlife, but I guess what, has been described as the in-between or like purgatory or whatever. And I think it's very much like in The Sixth Sense, where these people couldn't really go on to wherever they were going to be going from this life until like it was determined how they died, till they solved their own murders, right? And that's kind of the gist of what's going on in this book. When he unalives these women, wherever it happens, that's where their spirit, like you see in movies, comes out of their body, and they're kind of like, oh my God, what's going on? And they're like seeing, they're having literally an out-of-body experience. They're seeing what's going on, and they're able to, they can't talk to anybody. They can't touch anybody. They found ways to do things like maybe flick a light or, make some wind blow. They can get in the car, but their, abilities to do much is very limited because they don't have, a full body or full, flesh or whatever. So the first three chapters basically are telling how he unalived them, right? How he, got their trust, took them on dates and yada, yada. And here would be a good time to also mention this mofo is married with a child. Okay? So when you talk about sociopaths, psychopaths, and just evil ass people, that is wild. That you have a whole wife at home, and like a child that's elementary school age or maybe even younger, and cheating is one thing. Okay, that's despicable too. But you out here murder. You have a whole daughter, and you're like preying on innocent women and unaliving them. Like, what if your daughter becomes somebody's victim? I have just never been able to wrap my mind around that. And I know, a lot of people, there's the conversation around it shouldn't be a thing where, what if it's your daughter? It should just be that these people are human beings. But some people, you can't even reach them with that, because if they don't know the person, they don't consider them to be human beings. They're, you know, of no consequence. I would think if you have a child, especially if you're a man doing these type of things, and you have a daughter, that should play heavy on your mind, that these women are somebody's daughter too. But I digress. Anyway, so let's see. Oh, I just looked at my notes. He have 2 little girls. He have more than one. 2 little girls. Okay. Anyway, so the last girl that he unalives, it happened like he dumps her body in the woods, and I think that's where she ends up dying fully. Like, I think he did something to her, and like she still had a little breath in her, because that's where her spirit, she's like trapped out there, because she doesn't know where because even like I said, it's not like she can fly or teleport or whatever. I think they actually have to like get in a car with somebody and be like taken and actually transported, you know, because she's out there in the woods. And that was the part when I was reading that, I was like, this is like horrible, because she was out like in those woods alone, even in death. You know, her body had started to decay. That's how long she had been out in the woods. And something happened where like a police officer, ironically enough, saw something in the street and got out of the car, you know, pulled over, got out of the car, and that's how she was found. And then she was able to move on, you know, with this police officer. And then when they went to the police station, she saw one of the other girls who had been following the guy and was in his house and all this stuff with him. And they were both like, you can see me, you can see me. And then they realized it was a third girl. And then that's when they like kind of got together and started talking about, well, you know, I know this, I know that. Hey, I you know, was able to make the lights flicker, or I can do stuff with electricity. And they devised a plan, you know, to get him. But the first thing that they felt like they had to do was to get his wife and his daughters away from him, because he didn't know how, but he knew something was going on where someone was putting together the pieces of what he had done, and he was already planning his escape. And part of that escape was going to be to leave everything and everybody behind. And I don't know that he planned to leave them alive behind. So they were like afraid for his wife and his daughters, which I guess that brings me back to, you know, him not caring. Because if you were thinking about doing some of your own daughters, it's just sick and sad. Again, one of the reasons why I didn't want to get into this book, because I knew I was going to get, you know, so mad. But, you know, I love a good tale of revenge. Okay, and even if the ghosts have to do what needs to be done, I love seeing karma and revenge work the way that it's supposed to work. And overall, I mean, the story itself was short at 295 pages, but it was pretty fast paced. And the way that the title came to be, "Ask for Andrea," in one of the restrooms, because this was like at the end, like you know, when his wife found out what was going on with him, and, you know, the police were getting involved and they were closing in and things were coming, you know, to a head. And ironically enough, where he was captured, or where it happened, was at the diner where he killed the first girl, where he met her out and was taking her on a date. And in the bathroom, someone had written in one of the stalls, like, basically, if, you know, you're out with a creep, or if something's going on, or, you know, you feel unsafe, go to the bar and ask for Andrea, right? And Andrea, I guess, even if it wasn't like, if Andrea was a bartender there, if she wasn't on duty, I think it was a thing that they knew if somebody came to the bar, a girl or a woman or whatever, and said, hey, where's Andrea? They knew that, you know, person was in trouble, and they would help them. Unfortunately, I think the first girl, none of them saw that. I don't think all three of them were picked up from the same spot. But that first girl definitely was in there and she didn't see that. But again, she really didn't know because he came across very, as most sociopaths do, very respectful and nice and clean cut and, you know, just a perfect green flag guy. And then when your defenses are down, you know, that's when he struck or whatever. But I really enjoyed the supernatural aspect of it, and almost like how they had superpowers with the things that they were able to do. And then also, one of the girls, her mother, because she was missing, like the one that was in the woods for a long time, because they didn't have a body. They didn't, like, where is she? You know, it was stories like that she had ran off and, you know, and this and that. But her mother was just like, no, I know something has happened. And she was able to reconnect with her mother. I think her mom must have been at the police station or something. And she ended up getting in the car with her mom. And like, you know how you hear stories about people saying they can feel the spirit of like a loved one. I think that helped give her mom closure because she was there and she was talking to her mom and told her that she was going to be okay and, you know, this and that. And so that the mom could kind of let go. And then there were one of them like met their grandmother, right? It's like they had this ability to, I don't know if she was transitioning by going through the past and kind of connecting with relatives that had died already, and like maybe being back in the kitchen with her grandmother. And the grandmother knew she was dead because she died, you know, and she was like basically living the rest of her eternity doing things that she loved, which was cooking, and she was in the kitchen. And when the girl came in, she was like, oh, you know, like she knew that her granddaughter was no longer living. So I thought like little things like that was really clever, so that it kind of broke up the awful, I mean, subject matter, obviously, but kind of giving the reader closure as well, that yes, it was absolutely awful what happened to these women, and this man should pay and will pay, but their spirits are okay. They've gotten closure here on earth, and they, you know, did this and that, and this is what's going to happen to them. So, you know, you weren't thinking, okay, so they just died for nothing because he was a stupid ass person that just wanted to take a life. I mean, you know, that's kind of how it goes, but also at the same time, there was closure for them as well, and for as much closure as you can get for a person that was unalive, you know. But yeah, I thought it was a good read. It was something very different, a very different premise than anything that I'd read before. So if you like stories that have an element of mystery, of suspense, that also has some supernatural elements, then I think that you would enjoy Ask for Andrea. However, on the trigger warning side of that, you know, there is like mention of how he kills these women and the fact that their bodies are laying there and what happens when they decay and all that kind of stuff. So there is on page mention of that. So you got to kind of, you know, weigh, do I really want to read about that? But would it be kind of worth it in the end to get this story and to see what happens to this person? For me, it was, you know, and everybody's different. You know, your tastes are different. And I've said this before, I'm very much a mood reader. And this was on my list. And I wasn't in the mood for a long time to read it because I didn't want to read anything like that. And I don't know, something just, you know, like hit me. It was like, you know what? I want something a little dark, something a little, you know, how you sit and you watch those First 48 and those type of shows, very much in the vein of that. So if you have read for Ask for Andrea, I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. And, you know, was there anything I missed, or what were some of your takeaways? Thanks so much for watching. Make sure that you like this video and go ahead and take the opportunity to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Thanks again. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.